My dad came home from work one day and he said, I've got you something. And I looked at this box and it was guitar shaped. So my dad opens this box and there's this ridiculous tiny guitar, not much bigger than a ukulele. And my dad said to me, if you can play me 3 songs on this guitar, I'll think about getting you an electric guitar. And I ended up just picking this guitar up. I just picked it up and I knew exactly what to do before I'd even figured out how you do things. I called my dad up to my bedroom, said, Dad, I can play these songs. And I could tell the look on his face, he didn't really believe me. So he sat down opposite me. I played 3 songs and he had a tear in his eye. A couple of weeks later, there was a guitar delivered home. It was a black and white Stratocaster copy, which is the same as Eric Clapton's guitar at the time, so I was over the moon. I had this little amplifier and a red curly lead, and I just played and played and played.
Wow, Damo!
We'd go out and watch live bands, and occasionally they'd say, oh, Damien, do you want to get up and play a song? So that was my sort of first experience of playing live, because I'd be given chances at gigs in pubs to just jump up and play a couple of songs, and the feeling when you do that, it is just something else. I mean, it's so nerve-wracking when you first do it. You never experience nerves like it. But once you're up there and you're playing in a band with other people and looking out and seeing an audience enjoy what you do, there's no feeling like that. About 11 years ago, I was 37 years old. I basically had a stroke during a gig.
Again, hospitals apologised after a man was turned away from its accident and emergency unit because the doctor failed to diagnose that he was having a stroke.
There's no warning. All I remember thinking was that somebody had punched me in the head.
Despite slurred speech and losing feeling in his body, Damien was discharged.
And I remember sitting on the floor looking around thinking, who's hit me? And then I realised that my right side of my body wouldn't work.
If I'd had a clot or a bleed on the brain, which most strokes do occur from, then I wouldn't be talking to you now.
I had to completely relearn the guitar. I had to learn things like talking properly again and picking up glasses to have a drink, walking, and you're just trying to learn everyday things all over again. So the guitar kind of falls down into a lower priority. But the guitar's been my life and my best friend for a long, long time. And music and the guitar was my salvation, really. So yeah, I'm 8 years stroke free now. I'm shy, calm, laid back, almost nervous person off stage. When I put a guitar on, it just gives me a whole load of confidence. It's like a shield of steel, you know. You're just up there, you're playing guitar, and you're the biggest person in the world.
I grew up in Keady in South Armagh, along with my mum and dad and my sister. I grew up in the 60s, 70s, and my father and mother, who were Christians, brought me and my sister to Sunday school, and we attended church. Probably at the age of 7, I came to realise that I needed a personal faith in Christ. That was probably the foundational stone that was going to enable me to meet the challenges and face the difficulties that I was going to face in my life. I was growing up in the heart of the Troubles. There was a lot of people getting shot, bombs exploding about us around in our area, but I never thought that any of it would ever affect our family, because Dad never was involved in the security forces. We grew up in a mixed community, and my dad had many good Roman Catholic neighbours and friends, as well as Protestant, so we never had any animosity, or there was never any problem in the countryside. I suppose from my point of view, I always thought I was kind of sheltered from any trouble because we were quite neutral. We didn't see ourselves, or at least I didn't see my dad, as target. One Sunday night on the 20th of November in 1983, whenever we attended the church that we went to, which was Mountain Lodge Pentecostal Church. I can remember going with my mum and my sister. My dad had already went on ahead, and he would have greeted us going into the hall that night, along with his 2 other friends. We were kind of running slightly late, as we normally would have, and the first hymn was just started. Dad and his friends were still in the front porch of the hall that night, and then whenever the hymn started to sing, we heard like a rattling of stones on tin. The pastor, he shouted, "Everybody fall down on the ground," and then I seen my dad running up the centre of the hall, and he also was shouting, "Get down, get down." Everyone was laying on the floor, and the shooting continued for some time, and then it died down. There was people injured, and we realised that 2 of Dad's friends was lying dead in the front hall, and I remember going up into the back hall and seeing my dad lying, and he had died at the stage. It was hard for us to believe that that had happened. I suppose the next few days and weeks and months was a kind of a blur, trying to come to terms with what had happened. And as I lived out my faith, I could see that forgiveness to those that have wronged me or had wronged me was a massive part of my faith and what I believed as a follower of Christ. Probably over a period of time I was able to release that forgiveness to those who had robbed me of someone so precious to me. There is a saying that some people will say that you forgive and forget. I can't say that is true, that statement. I believe you can forgive, but I don't think that one ever forgets. Certainly most days, if not every day, you'd always think about the ones that have been taken from us.
Tere hommikust! Tšau!
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 Tere, Anella! Rõõm näha!
Nii, paneme täna veel küünlakese.
Jaa.
Mida? Ma kaotasin hiire ära.
Ma tõesti ütlesin, et sul pole meiki. Proovi.
On erinevad värvid või?
Kus sul kodus?
Pink ja need.
Oli küll erinev, ma käe peale tõmbasin.
Pane peale.
Mul on midagi peale.
Ei ole sul midagi seal peale.
Ei ole
ära söödud.
Võib-olla söödki.
Ta ei printi mitte
Suuga sööd.
Tiina arvuti
Võtšutad ära.
Palju mitu kilo see naine aasta jooksul sööb mulle pulka.
Jaa, ma kirjutasin numbri
Teid see pole
ära.
mitu kilo oli kohe.
Jaa.
Kuule jube mõnus.
Aitäh. See, mis sul praegu peal on, fuks ja
Siia.
On või? Okei, on fuks ju.
Ma küll, ma lähen teile suitsu. Ma panen punase peale siis.
lumelaued puhtaks.
Вот какой стресс от фуксии, что суицу надо.
Надо.
Вы тоже курить?
Нет,
Уже водку?
Водку тоже не люблю.
Vabariigi aastapäeval ma joon. Ma joon mõrna ja õunamahlaga. Kube ja. Tead, вообще seda vodki 6 нету, tead.
Если коктейль будешь, да?
Jah,
не
õunamahl, это чистый õunamahl, что не в магазине, aga у нас это...
Я понимаю, но желудок не выдержит такой коктейль. И водка, и õunamahl.
Tavaliselt vist eriti ei telli või? Teised?
No Liis võib-olla veel tellis, aga...
No, kui näevad, et me söövad, siis homme tellivad, noh.
Sa ei oska ketele tuunida, et mul tuleks see väiksem.
Kindlasti oskan.
No tule aita siis teist.
Palju maksad?
Ah. No vot, väga hea. Thanks.
Palun.
Nii. Tule mulle võtmas ka. Ai. Tas tahab keegi. Sest homme me ei telli. Ja reede vaevalt.
Ei ole.
Kõik on otsas.
Ma ei tea ta nime, aga ta ütles. Mis sa tellid?
Pole probleemi, jah?
Ikka aitäh kutsumast, aga me jätame seega kahele. Jätame seega kahele.
Mõni tark inimene veel oleks läinud siis.
Pea nii tarkade.
Jah. Kuidas teie sõrnikud, kuidas su praad oli, Aide? Oli ka? No jah, aga su sõrnikud?
Vajad?
Jah.
Jah. Vaata mind siis nüüd.
Oota, see on nüüd see punane või? Kurat, teil oli palju punasem.
20 juba.
Üks terve küünal läheb päevaga, jah?
Esimene päev läks poole päeva pealt juba küünal.
Kun oli niimoodi lõpuni või?
Jaa. Kuule, kaua te olete siin? Kohe mineme minema. Tulge homme. Sul tahad siia kaubärgi tulla veel?
Tulge homme?
Ma ütlesin, tulge homme. Tšau. Oi, hindad on.
Dizem que o nascimento de uma criança muda uma vida para sempre. Que é algo maravilhoso, um milagre. Sobretudo quando é o primeiro filho, quando é a primeira vez. Mas por vezes, a mudança não acontece como esperado.
Trabalhava numa metalomecânica, era a diretora da qualidade e da manutenção da empresa. Trabalhava lá já há 8 anos, quando engravidei pela primeira vez e começaram-me a dar a entender que as coisas iriam mudar uma vez que eu estava à espera de bebê. Bem, o tempo foi passando, o bebê nasceu, entretanto coincidiu, uns meses mais tarde era a renovação da certificação, eu estava à espera da auditoria. Fiz a auditoria, correu lindamente e então estavam à espera que passasse a auditoria. 2 dias depois disseram-me que eu tinha tido um bebê, que queria ter mais com certeza, que já não estavam interessados em mim, sim, tal e qual. Isto não era, perante a lei, isto não era legal de todo, tanto que eu podia processar a empresa, só que isto, claro, eu posso processar a empresa, mas isto podia demorar anos. E como eu já tinha visto eles procederem mal com outras pessoas na empresa, a fecharem-nos numa sala e estarem só sentados, sem mesa, nada, e passavam os dias sem fazerem nada até chegarem a um entendimento. E como eu sabia que isto podia demorar muito tempo, eu não estava para isto, nem tinha nervos para isto, resolvi chegar no acordo e indemnizar-me eu sair da empresa. Preferia assim. Eu tinha contrato efetivo, eu estava efetiva na empresa e eles só me puderam despedir porque chegámos a acordo que iam abolir o posto de trabalho e porque tinha a minha autorização, mas eu sei que isso não era verdade. Depois sucessivamente foram contratando pessoas, as pessoas despediam-se, iam e despediam-se, agora atualmente já desliguei, mas sei que passaram várias pessoas pelo meu lugar. Nunca mais tiveram ninguém como eu lá estive 8 anos. Profissionalmente era uma boa profissional, por isso isto foi para o lado humano. Agora, fiquei muito triste quando tu dás muito de ti, investes muito numa coisa e de repente dizem que já não te querem, é uma grande desilusão, não é? Se eu não tivesse preocupado tanto em conseguir os objetivos, se calhar não tinha ficado tão triste como fiquei. Realmente fiquei muito triste. A minha salvação foi também tu teres pequenina e ter-me dedicado a ti. Porque se imagina que se isto me tivesse acontecido sem filhos, cada tinha sido pior, ao menos tinha a ti para me distrair. Só que calhou numa altura não muito boa, porque foi na altura em que Portugal começou a atravessar uma crise e em termos de emprego as coisas estavam muito más. Todos os contactos que eu tinha feito ao longo dos anos, não conseguia arranjar trabalho. Foi quando pensei que, então, olha, não consigo arranjar trabalho na minha área, vou agarrar no dinheiro da indenização e vou investir em alguma coisa. Foi quando nos lembrámos dos bordados e investir numa máquina a sério, numa máquina industrial, e fazer disso vida. E pronto, e até hoje. Ainda trabalhei em casa durante uns tempos e enquanto ia fazendo umas coisas ia praticando. Depois era dar presentes, ou época era anos, depois foi o Natal, e os presentes, pronto, era um bocadinho com as experiências que se iam fazendo. E depois, pronto, depois já não deixou de ser possível, com bebés em casa, depois também tinha que mostrar o meu trabalho a outras pessoas, e não era dentro de casa. Depois arranjei um ateliê, e pronto, e tenho estado com o ateliê até hoje. Não vou dizer que tenho muita pena de não trabalhar naquilo que estudei, gostava imenso e que me afastei de todo, mas nisso tenho muita pena de não continuar, mas são opções, quis ter os filhos, São opções, tive que abdicar de umas coisas para ter outras. Se eu soubesse que agora ia passar pelo mesmo, que se engravidasse e que ia ficar sem trabalho, eu fazia tudo outra vez. Fazia tudo outra vez. Tinha as minhas filhas todas outra vez. Que é a melhor coisa. É a melhor coisa. Porque, olha, trabalhos há outros. Não é? Trabalhos há outros. E eu sempre senti que quem ficava a perder eram eles.
I know the value of discipline and truth. It is complete independence that we want. I must ask you to believe me when I say that I have never made a statement of this description, that the masses of India would resort to violence. I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
I started playing the drums when I was about 12 years old, so that was 10 years ago. The main thing that got me into drumming was that I always loved music.
I've always believed that music is beneficial for children and young people to learn.
Another reason why I took on drums is because I like to use it as a relief for any stress and anxiety. I was diagnosed with autism when I was about 2 years old.
He had suddenly developed a lot of characteristics of autistic children. He was very sensitive to sounds and was struggling with communication.
How drumming helps with all of that is that when you listen to music, you don't think of all of the noises that are occurring, you just hear a pleasing rhythm. The same happens when you're drumming. I usually like to drum for about half an hour to an hour. It depends on my mood.
It's incredibly good exercise. Drumming for 45 minutes is the equivalent of playing football in the Premier League for the same length of time.
Another great thing about drumming is that it's helped me find new friends and social activities. I've played in bands, I've played a gig at the Half Moon, and I've been to many concerts with my mates. This has helped me tolerate sound over the past few years.
Doing things like playing the gigs at the Half Moon, you know, playing to an audience of 200 people is a difficult thing for anybody to do.
So this is my drum kit. It's got all of the necessities. So it's got a bass drum, snare drum, a hi-hat, tom-tom drums, cymbals, and the most important feature of all, a beer keg. For reference, this is what the beer keg sounds like. This was actually inspired by one of my favourite bands, Slipknot. As well as the drummer, they have a couple of percussionists. My favourite genres to play drums to are rock, metal and hip hop. My style's pretty much to remain as tight as I can, so I like to use drags, ghost notes, tom-tom drums, double bass drumming. I can do that with either 2 feet or just 1 foot. I call the latter technique funky foot. My main inspirations are Chad Smith, Dave Grohl, Dominic Howard, Joey Jordison, John Bonham, Travis Barker and Lars Ulrich.
Drumming for George is almost like meditating. I think it allows his brain chance to get into the zone, and just emotionally, I think it's a great release for him.
In many ways, playing drums has helped me to fight depression. It's made me more physically active. It's helped my social skills. It's pretty much benefited every aspect of my life.
I think drumming's been absolutely life-changing for George.
Every person, especially artists, have their own coping mechanism. Mine personally is in the music.
And June the 13th, I spent all those weeks, bless your heart, you were on my doorstep, don't get me wrong when I'm saying that, I spent all those weeks on my own. People like you, you'd be on the doorstep and you'd talk to me 6 feet away and all the rest of it, but nobody came into my house in all those weeks. So that was tough. I can't go back to that this time round. That really will. I have bouts of depression, self-pity, whatever else you want to call them. I have them anyway on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Again, depending on how I'm feeling on that particular day. So, yes, you know, and you all came round and did my fences and that. I don't know whether or not that was after Support Bubbles or not. I'd know by looking in my diary, but otherwise I wouldn't know. This lockdown feels very different to the last lockdown. This lockdown feels like imprisonment. The last lockdown, I think we had more hope in our hearts. There was more of a collective spirit of goodwill and thinking that we're all going to get through this together and stuff. I don't think that's there this time.
So, how's it been with Grandad Ken over lockdown and stuff?
Over the first lockdown, I wasn't able to see my dad at all, and that was very, very difficult. He's already 97 years of age, so not seeing him, for me, was very hard. I think from his point of view, life didn't change all that much. I was telephoning every day, you were doing his shopping for him. He still had his lady domestic come do his cleaning. He still had the lady come and deliver his foods for the freezer, his main meals. So apart from not seeing very many people, which is the norm for my dad, I don't think he was as badly affected, whereas I was acutely aware that time was passing by and that I hadn't seen him, and that I hadn't seen him in weeks, and then it turned to months. And for me, someone that saw my dad a couple of times a week at least, that was grim. So this second lockdown has been slightly different. For me, I am more than happy that this time round, within the rules, I am allowed to go and see him and give him assistance, because that is what he needs. He couldn't go on forever not having people visit and help him with the day-to-day things that he needs. And yet, as I say, he's a very independent person. There's a lot that he does for himself, but he still needs help too. So this time round has been better in that respect. This time round, because of the rules that keep changing, I need to be there for him. I need to be there for him as well as for myself for him. Because, yes, he's 97 today, but he'll be 98 in January. I can't afford not to see him. I need to know that he's there and that he's got all the support that he needs to get through his day as well as me get through mine.
这是一个连垃圾都应用了自动化程序的时代，人们随地的丢掉，垃圾车按时清理。那些我们不以为意的垃圾，对于有的人而言，却是生存必需品。
You can
俺这一老太老头推车定定，俺给我吃下抢我了。
她就是贾奶奶，她今年已经82岁了。她有一个生病的儿子，为了替儿子治病，家里花光了钱，她不得不捡垃圾来维持家用。
觉得你没走。
看着我搁这上面就拿着上车的，往下拿就没了。
冬天是一年的终点，垃圾是万物的终点。可是只要充满希望，垃圾可以被回收，春天也总会到来。
I'm 21171-508 veteran rifleman Alok Kandangwa. I've deployed in Afghanistan in 2007. After 3 or 4 major operations we did, with the Canadian Army. We deployed in Balasu Valley. They gave us a red house. We have to go through that red house because intelligence source tell us there was enemy. It was big operation. 3-4 casino drop was in the Balasu Valley, and then we went to the big compound to clear up. The enemy wasn't there. We found so many grenades and AK-47 which is using the enemy. 30-40 minutes we settled down there, and then after that our officer command told us to move out from there. So when we got out from the compound, we got ambushed with the Taliban. I thought we are going to die there in the desert. Luckily there was a small candle who saved us. Few minutes there was silent, and then I was a LMC gunner, so I just took out my gun and then look out the enemy position where they are hiding. There was a small grenade outside. I feel like slash hammer hit on my head. I feel dizzy. I couldn't see properly. They stopped firing at us. So my colleague dragged me down to this safe place. There was a small fragmentation goes in my right eye, which makes me nearly blind on my right eyesight. After 30 minutes, Apache came down to Balasu Valley to rescue us. Colonel Riley told me he can't do anything because of problem of retina. 3 weeks of treatment, he told me, "I'm sorry, Alok. You will be blind for a lifetime because I couldn't I couldn't repair your retina." I was just nervous. I came to meet my commander, and then I told him, "Boss, I wouldn't be like before because I lost my eye vision. It's really hard time for me, and then I couldn't see properly, and then after a few months and year, I used to live with it. And then 2013 October, they gave me medical discharge from the British Army. I did 9 to 10 years for the British Army, so I'm glad I had that kind of experience with the army and then outside the army. I'm very proud to serve the British Crown, so thank you very much.
I have been a carer for 6.5 years, and in that time I've had the pleasure to care for people in my community that have been a second family to me. One of those that I care for being John, who suffers from Parkinson's disease and requires level 3 care. Since the beginning of the pandemic, John has deteriorated and eventually will be moved to a care home. The care plan is different for each client and their families we look after. During lockdown, all of our clients were shielding for their own safety, all of them being isolated from their loved ones and their own independence. Our lives became about our jobs, isolating us too from the outside world, and our goal was to keep them smiling and positive. Tingling?
It feels like it just moves.
Yeah,
Just go like that and there's nothing there.
yeah. And is that a recent development? Has it come
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah.
Yeah. John recently had a gold injection in his knee and is suffering from side effects. As little as this seems, it's something we have to record and keep an eye on to see if the side effects worsen. My first COVID test was 6 weeks ago, despite being a year into this pandemic. In that time, 3 of our clients have died. We felt forgotten about by the government, risking our lives every day to protect those we care for and their families. Alongside care, I'm a professional ballroom dance teacher, and I've been dancing since I was 6 years old, competing in numerous competitions. For 40 are still taking their awards, so I was taught from the age of 6, so in 6 years I achieved the international award and I got honours on that one.
Is it the twister? Twist again, like we did last summer. Come on, let's twist again.
COVID meant that I was unable to teach my normal private tuition classes. Instead, I began to teach clients, using it as a distraction from their isolation and a moment of happiness for them. In the moment of dance, they forget about the outside world, and it helps me to forget about the pandemic too, just having fun dancing in the hope that we'll be back to a normal reality soon.
of June 2009, my 2 sons were abducted by their mother to Mexico. 2.5 years later, a miracle happened. It was a Tuesday in October. That morning, as I got back, I noticed I got a missed call. It was from the Central Authority of Abducted Children. So I phoned her back. She said to me, "You need to get to Mexico like yesterday." And I said to her, "What do you mean?" "The police have found your family and preparations in place and you need to get out there like now." And I thought, no, come on, you're playing a joke on me. Why, no, that's not true. I was such in shock, I sort of nearly fell down. So now I'm sitting down and I'm sort of in shock. I have to raise £5,000 for airfares and hotels, all sorts of things. I just phoned everyone, and I don't usually beg and borrow. Some people donated, some people came up and helped me, and I managed to raise the money. In that week of organising things, my younger son's godmother, Jenny, said she would come with me. So on the Saturday, Jenny and I caught our flight and arrived there sort of quite early that time. I think it was about 9 o'clock. And I remember we go to the hotel, everything's strange and surreal. We went and met with my lawyer. She said to me that the police had found her. They did a reconnaissance in the way of going in there, pretending to buy cakes. Said the kids were fine, and don't worry, they are staking out the place in case they moved or left. Anyway, with me on nerves, we drive in the lawyer's car down to this building in the street early mornings. So we get up to this courtyard, and it's one of these courtyards is sort of like in the middle is like like a gardens and that, and there's how many flats and there's fences going around, and down on the side was the flat, and everyone was lined up to go sort of that way to go into the flat, and I'm here with 2 police, very nice, and I'm really nervous, and the police guy says, "Oh, don't breathe to me." And now I haven't seen or heard my kids for near enough 2.5 years, and I haven't seen Morena either, and I've never met Jeremy. So the judge knocks on the door. Jeremy answered through the window or something. He says, "What do you want?" Judge replies by saying, "We're here for the children. Can you please come open the door?" And they open the door, and all hell broke loose. You just see this line sort of disappear into the house. Don't know how many got into the flat. I don't know how big the flat was, but they're screaming. There is Morena swearing and carrying on at the judge when everybody's in the flat now. I don't know what's going on. I only found out later what sort of happened, and I'm still outside wondering whether to go in or not, and they told me no. Eventually they took me down and I sat inside my lawyer's car. Eventually my lawyer came down and said no, they've agreed to come down to the courthouse. They'll obviously be escorted. I sat in the back. Off we go to the court buildings in central Mexico. Eventually, I don't know what the time was, we said, "Come, we're all going to go up now." We go into the next process, and we get in the lift and we go up a few floors, and I thought it was going to be an actual courtroom, but it wasn't. It's actually the judge's office. He had a glass office. Now I'm getting really nervous, and a very good friend of mine said, "Whatever you do, don't cry, don't try and get emotional, stay strong for them. Go out the way and be emotional, but be really strong for your kids," which is not easy to do. So we went into the office, this glass office, and Morena and Jeremy were sitting there, and we were separated by the special police. The judge was asking a few questions and asked me to touch my youngest one, and I remember touching him, and he screamed and ran under the table. So the judge sort of knew what was going on and saw the situation. We had to leave, and that's when I went around the corner and I just sat on the floor and just cracked up. And the judge was talking to them and Jeremy. He came out and said, "Okay, they've convinced Morena to this document, and she had made up a friend that where the kids could go and stay when they came back, not to be with me, and then they would go back to South Africa." And I went in, and when I remember sitting around and she's sitting there, and now she's sort of agreed, and I've also got to agree to this, worry that this paperwork is going to be effective in the High Court here. And I said, "Oh, can I speak to my lawyer?" And she goes, "Oh, I told you you wouldn't listen." And they put her down and told her to shut up, went out, and I said to my lawyer, I said, "Am I going to be in trouble if I sign this document?" She said, "Dennis, just sign the document, because it means nothing when you get back to the UK. You've got to get them out the country." Went back in, she signed the document and I signed the document. Went out, got a phone call from the embassy a few minutes later saying, listen, I believe an order is in place that the children can be removed and returned to the UK. Congratulations. Do I want to fly on the flight out tonight? There's 4 seats. And I said, absolutely. I would need to go down to the embassy and sort this out. Jenny decided to go back to the hotel. We separated. I get there and it was like a fortress. You go through double secured doors. You couldn't have your phone on you. You could have virtually nothing on you. So now I'm sitting waiting, and my lawyer said to me, "Go and sit in the van, stay out the way, don't let them see you." And I remember there was a lot of performance on the outside. Jenny eventually came through with all our bags, then had to go out to try and convince the boys to come in, that it's okay. They dragged my oldest one through, like there was 2 guys in white coats that dragged him through into the courtyard, and he's carrying on. And then the youngest one comes in and he's looking up and saying, "Leave my brother alone, leave my brother alone." And I was in the van and I saw all this. I can't really explain what happened to me, but like I could have ripped that van apart. And I said, "Oh God, please calm me down." And I didn't realise this afterwards, but literally in seconds I sat in that van and I was like, some calmness came over me. And eventually they let my oldest go, and we climbed into the Land Rover, and at about 5 o'clock, and we had an hour, not even that, to get to the airport to check in. It was like a film, because you just see gates open, and it started to rain, and it's got this effect of rain coming down, and the big arm open, and the van flies out, and we fly out into this traffic, and there's all this madness of rush hour traffic in Mexico City, and I ain't got long to get to the airport, and I'm panicking we're going to miss our flight. And it was surreal, like We couldn't believe this day after so much stress and so much anguish, and I cannot believe what from that morning when I said there's no ways. I still don't know to this day how these two kids, how Morena allowed them, or what the judge did to be on that plane that night. Was an impossibility, so it was a miracle.
3, 2, 1, go!
Come on. Alright. Mind how you go and concentrate. Oh! Ow, 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 ow. Hey, Genvi!
以前我做老师的时候，也经常跟那些老师探讨，人生的成功是什么代表人生的成功？一个是说赚了钱，一个是事业有成。最后有个老教师说，执拗有出息才是人生的成功。
这几个星期看你那个状态，不像是生病的那个样子。
是他这个药吃的，现在我感觉的是不一样。
上个月就有一段时间就很夸张，
上个月
脸又黄了，整个看上去人又消瘦了。
跟你妈我都讲了，上个星期是经过两方面的，一个是精神方面的，一个是那个实际性的东西，也跑得挺累的，那是压力也比较重。这个房子的那个名字叫外汉地。这个外汉地这个名字呢，不是说现在才，不是父辈那个搞的，是爷爷辈的爷爷辈起的这个名的，
老点了，
这里面没人住的了哇，很脏的嘛。现在就养鸡养那个鸽子的嘛，养鸡了，现在都养鸡了，最后还是要回到这里来住。最后还要回到这里住，到时候要拆掉重做。这个是我们老的厨房了，这个原来是这个饭厅来的，现在就没有了，塌下来了。我们客家人有个笑话就是这样，他奶奶跟他爷爷50多年的金婚。他那时候没什么金婚不金婚的，他孙女回去的时候， 就很奇怪，问他奶奶，他说怎么你跟爷爷2个人结婚那么久了，也没见你们吵过架，就这样一生过来。他说吵架我就有这孙女吵架我就有吵，你就不知道就是了。我们那个年代的人呢，都是说有些东西坏了，我们讲的是修。你们现在的人就是坏了就扔掉换，那概念不一样了，讲得很哲理的。
He spanned the cultures. Enter the Dragon, I went to watch Enter the Dragon, and this is in the 70s when you didn't get many black guys unless it was in a film called Shaft, starring in a film, or Sidney Poitier. We had a white guy, a black guy and a Chinese man all starring in the same film, and that film blew me away.
You seem to be very much at home here, Mr. Roper.
This guy Hans got a great sense of hospitality and a fantastic sense of style.
Although I had the same physical skills, I trained just as hard, I was fitter than any other person. For some reason inside I just didn't quite feel right.
Vamos a ver, Adriana. Por muy lejos que te vayas, hay cosas que siempre se van a quedar contigo. Tú llevas contigo una mochila de experiencias y de relaciones personales que son las que marcan tu forma de entender lo que quieres aprender en el futuro. Todo lo que los académicos y los libros te van a enseñar te van a enriquecer, pero es sorprendente hasta qué punto si intentas saber de dónde vienen tus inquietudes y lo puedes discutir con la gente que es próxima a ti, vas a encontrar muchas claves que para ti van a ser un descubrimiento. Es importante que te ofrezcas a escuchar aquello que creías que ya habías superado. Es muy interesante que puedas volver a hablar con la gente con la que has crecido y has construido tu propio mundo interior.
Buenos días. Los valores que te inculcan te calan. La cosa es cuando tienes capacidad de elección propia, valorar si esos ideales te convienen o esos ideales van en contra de lo que tú quieres representar. En este caso nos hemos quedado con la otra opción. Sí, yo fuese conformista, en plan, si yo me hubiese quedado en la misma línea con mis padres, pues ahora mismo estaría bastante peor que ahora. Claro, no, y en las ideas, sí es verdad que de pequeño sí tenía como las ideas más de... ¿Puedo decir nazi en la entrevista?
Sí.
Vale, de un puto nazi.
¿Eres nazi de pequeño?
No, hombre, es un de sí. Siempre he sido una persona que le gusta mucho viajar. Y sí que es verdad que nunca he pensado en quedarme en Sevilla y morirme en Sevilla, ni de coña, porque antes me pego un tiro. No tengo ningún miedo a admitirlo. A mí la muerte me aterra. Lo que no temo no es a morirme, lo que temo es a la inexistencia, al dejar de ser algo, al dejar de tener conciencia. A mí el morirme, ser un ser corpóreo, dejar de serlo, no me importa. A mí lo que me jode es no seguir pensando y no seguir estando en... ¿sabes? No, tampoco sé lo que hay más allá, probablemente nada, pero...
Fumar y hablar del puto tirón, ¿sabes? Claro, pero en verdad eso es lo bonito, ¿sabes? En plan, estás un año sin ver al colega, pero luego estás 3 horas con él y se nota la cercanía, ¿sabes? La gente que tenemos menos recursos lo notamos tela, ¿sabes? Rollo, que gente tenga que ir de Erasmus o cosas así, yo no tengo pasta para irme de viaje, ¿sabes? Yo me tuve que quedar aquí anclado en el barrio. Pues estaban preguntando los profesores que a qué instituto nos íbamos a ir y todo eso, ¿sabes? El Nacho dijo, pues yo me voy a ir al San Isidoro. Y de picada dije, pues ¿sabe qué? Me voy contigo. Empezó a fumar sobre los 13, que tú sabes, los chavales del barrio fumaban allí en la plaza, ¿sabes? Y un día me ofrecieron litro y cigarro y dije, hostia, pues del tirón. Hombre, a ver, que ya no hemos mucho por ahí, ¿sabes? En plan, muchos colegas míos se han desviado mucho, rollo, unos se han vuelto a su país, otros están metidos en la droga, otros metidos en la droga, que empezaron con los porritos, como todo el mundo, luego pasaron a cosas más fuertes y al final, pues, desayunan plata, ¿sabes?
O estudiando Derecho.
Yo cuando empecé con la falda, yo creo que era un poco el rollito de me voy a morir, ¿sabes? Me quiero morir, en verdad. Si estás en la mierda y te quieres ir a la mierda literalmente, pues qué mejor que metidísimo de coca. Si estuvieras todo el rato pensando en la muerte, no podrías desarrollar una vida normal. Por eso las religiones son tan del rollo, oye, pues después de la muerte viene no sé qué, ¿sabes?
Yo desde chico me han gustado mucho los ordenadores, pero a mí realmente lo que me gusta es básicamente el dibujo, el diseño, hacer música. No tiene nada que ver con lo que estoy estudiando. En plan, empezó a pasar la separación de mis padres y yo necesitaba una forma de expresarme, entonces yo no decía nada y simplemente dibujaba. O sea, se separaron y después a los 2 años o al año falleció mi padre. Entonces fue una cosa ahí, fueron 2 años que fue un poco todo una bola. O sea, yo lo del fallecimiento de mi padre yo lo viví con 16 años. Entonces eso para una persona, por muy maduro que tú te creas que eres, nadie está preparado para que se vaya una persona. Entonces sus hermanas lo metieron en una residencia de ancianos y mi padre tenía 63 años. Y claro, o sea, ve cómo decae una persona y que a ti te digan básicamente que te lo estás inventando. O sea, cada vez que salía de verlo, en plan, no, está mejor, no sé qué. Eso es mentira. Para mí esa gente no son nadie, porque no se han preocupado nunca por mí. Entonces, yo creo que, o sea, yo lo que tengo es un miedo irracional a acabar siendo como mi padre. Yo creo que eso es a mí lo que me afecta realmente. Mis padres, cada vez que se peleaban en mi casa, pues mi padre en plan despotricaba, ¿sabes? Decía un montón de cosas. Obviamente en plan machista y esas cosas. Entonces, o sea, yo sé que no soy así, pero es como un miedo irracional de decir, yo no soy así, pero ¿y si acabo así?
A ver, yo el único trauma que tengo así es que no tengo padre. O sea, llevo sin hablar con él 5 años, ¿sabes? Pero vamos que lo llevo flan. O sea, lo llevo flan adentro, que a veces tengo mi charita, como todo el mundo, pero se intenta mejorar. Mi madre, para mí, mi madre y mi padre. Mi madre ha estado ahí desde siempre. Desde que me tuvo con 18 años hasta ahora ha estado siempre. Por muchas peleas que haya habido, ha estado ahí. Entonces, también se puede colgar. Entonces también te da que pensar y decir, yo no quiero ser así. ¿Sabes? Te pueden educar como quieras y ya tú tienes que educarte a ti mismo cuando tienes una edad. Le tengo mucho respeto a la muerte. A la muerte y a envejecer. Mucho. Yo no quiero crecer. Y quiero quedar así. Para toda la vida, la verdad.
Yo he sido una persona que ha recibido acoso y yo llego al Instituto San Isidoro y para mí eso era una cosa O sea, era completamente distinto a lo que yo veía. A mí hay una de las cosas que más me llama la atención, es que la gente puede decir abiertamente que es homosexual. En el segundo día de clase, o en el primero incluso, Vicente, a mí me dice abiertamente que es gay. O sea, cuando me lo dijo yo me quedé impactado porque lo podía decir abiertamente en un colegio sin que recibiera por ello, o por lo menos le rechazara la totalidad de lo que eran las personas que ahí estaban, ¿no? En el San Isidoro iba con gusto, no por el ámbito académico, el ámbito académico la verdad era bastante desastroso, pero por ver a gente que era a gente de verdad. A mí no me da miedo. Las cosas se pueden acabar muy rápido y la vida es una cosa más.
Siempre me pareció una puta mierda que tenga que haber droga entre la gente para relacionarse más. Ahora mismo no le tengo miedo a la muerte como tal, pero claro, es que yo creo que ser joven, si ya tengo pues 80, pues entonces a lo mejor sí puedo decirte con seguridad no le tengo miedo a la muerte. Ahora mismo, pues no, porque lo veo súper lejano.
The city has entered a phase where it is anticipated the real possibility of day zero.
Maybe that is the question. Are we at threat of day zero?
South Africa, in this part of the country and in Cape Town, is getting drier.
We are now entering a phase where we start anticipating the very real possibility of a day zero scenario.
What is day zero?
Day zero is when there's no more water in the taps. So you go to your tap and you open up your tap and there's zip, nada, nothing, no water.
Okay. So first question, can you tell me a bit about the drought in South Africa?
Which drought? Because there's right now in South Africa there's a whole lot of droughts. Some of them have been going on for 14 years. So where we are right now, we have to travel 100, 150 kilometers, and there's a drought that's been on for about 10 to 14 years, where the ground is dirt dry, the trees are hard, broken branches, and where the farmers are really battling. But in the Western Cape, where we are, in the peninsula, it really forced people to reconsider the importance of water and how to save water. It wasn't something that people could just take for granted, that you go along and open up a tap. I had a situation where a friend of mine's husband was very sick and he was busy dying, and they needed more than 50 liters a day. And again, she couldn't carry 50 liters. She couldn't carry 20 liters. And now suddenly you need this extra water and this extra facilities to look after a man that needs to have it. And so it's very difficult to describe the absolute devastation of what day zero means. So you get 300 kilometers from here. There's certain parts of the country which haven't had rain for 7 years. So there's kids who are 6 years old, 7 years old, who have never seen rain. They don't know what it is. It's a total foreign concept for them. And I was talking to you earlier, last night, about the fact that I've never played in snow. I don't know what snow is. For them, they don't know what rain is. We are a water scarce country. And to live in a country that's water scarce is a challenge. The Western Cape, I think, handles the idea of a drought better than some of the other provinces do. So in Cape Town, I know that we've got a leakage rate of about 10%. So we lose about 10% of our water to leakages. In Nelson Mandela Bay, they talk between 40 and 70% water loss to leaks. And this year, I can't remember when exactly, but they actually had a day zero. There was no water in the taps. There's a group called Water Warriors, and you can look it up on the internet, who collect water and they take it up into the drought-stricken areas like Laingsburg and Beaufort West. That is literally a drop in the ocean of what's needed. What you really want to do is get megaliters of water and gigaliters of water into places. And to do that, the only way that you can really do that efficiently is with pipes. The problem is the cost of that. There's a huge cost of it. So one of the things that Gauteng did was the Highlands Water Project, where they built dams in Lesotho, and they take that water into Gauteng to help alleviate the water scarcity in Gauteng.
Okay, so this is, I think, my last question. Why is water so important?
Water is life. That's all I can say. Without it, there's no life.
He should never have thought that one day he would leave his relatives and friends alone, at his hometown where he had been living for 20 years. For his own study, he did not know whether this choice was right or not. He only knew that what he was about to face was a new world and unknown challenges. He stood in front of the house for a long time, afraid to his choice, full of confusion and worry about the unknown world, and even worry about whether he could finish the route he had chosen. He examined every corner of the room carefully, standing on the stairs and watching. In this extremely quiet environment, he is restless and felt all kind of discomfort. The calm face cannot cover up the inner anxiety. At this time, there is a laughing sound outside the window. He hardly wants to see. It's a passersby at his age, who seemed to be happy about daily life, letting his thought about his childhood playmates, working and playing together. But at the moment, he had to face an unfamiliar world alone, and no one can accompany him to finish the route destined to be lonely. No matter how hard it is, life must go on. Busy with classes and cooking every day, he gradually forgot the fear in his heart. The young tree had thrived under the care of his parents, but now it had to face the storm alone. He knew that this was a road to be complicated with tears. No one can resist the pressure of loneliness. But if you have a stronger heart, you can also see the beauty in the abyss. He looked down at his phone, thinking his family should have been asleep. He vaguely heard someone calling his name. It was his neighbor, who had left his hometown for the first time to explore the world on his own. He had a long talk with his first friend in a foreign country, and saw the optimism of his friend. Why the other is optimistic while he is still also alone. He seems to understand the purpose of coming here is to study, for his own life can get a good result. With a smile to share his success with friends, cherish every day in this land, rather than crying for support from his relatives to seek comfort. On that day, in fact, his friend had said something to him, which was, when a person wants to climb a high mountain, he does not care about the mud at his feet, which bothers him to advance.
每每念到是熱愛，卻伴醉。歡呼聲時常衝擊我，教我踏步不畏懼，縱有困難，亦要拼命追。歲月無聲消逝，歡呼中不會醉，得到了我會繼續進取，信念錯。
Hej! Hur är läget? Jo, det är som det är. Det är som det är. Jag tänkte bara ringa snabbt och säga att
Jag tror inte att jag kommer kunna komma hem för jul i år.
Nej, men det är väl ett klokt beslut. Det är ju tråkigt att du inte kommer hem, men det är väl bland de klokaste besluten man kan ta just nu. Men vad heter det, du kan väl fira brittisk jul med någon? Här in. Ja, gå och visa katten.
Sup?
Är det gubbar? Du kan väl fira med någon kompis?
Jo. Men jag ska se vad jag hittar på. Jag ska på något sätt kunna ha en ordentlig jul.
Du får väl gå ut på stan och fråga någon hur man firar en brittisk jul.
Ja, kanske.
Ja.
Det är ingen dum idé.
Ja, det känns ju jättetråkigt att du inte kommer hem och du kommer vara jättesaknad. Så om man också hörs vi på julafton.
Yes, det gör vi. Puss puss. Älskar dig.
Puss.
Hej.
My name is Marcus Eriksson and I'm a film student at the University for the Creative Arts with really good grades. This year, I won't be able to go home to my friends and family to celebrate Christmas due to the countless health risks and certain uncertainties around the world.
More and more countries are applying travel bans with the UK after it reported a more infectious and out-of-control variant of coronavirus.
Not only is COVID-19 stopping me from going home, there's even Brexit to stop me from coming back. So, I put it upon myself to stay in these godforsaken lands of Farnham, Surrey to have the best Christmas of my life.
We don't want to, as I say, to ban Christmas, to cancel it, and I think that would be frankly inhuman and against the instincts of many people in this country. Having looked at the latest data, we've decided that the overall situation is, alas, worse, more challenging than we'd hoped when we first set the rules. We're collectively, across the UK, governments at every level, asking you to think hard and in detail about the days ahead. But we all want to send the same message. A smaller Christmas is going to be a safer Christmas, and a shorter Christmas is a safer Christmas.
Would you have a minute to talk about Christmas?
We've got to get our parking tickets back. Sorry.
Go along, no problem.
Go in here the first time. You want to go there? Yeah. Okay. Where are you going? Sorry?
Do you have a minute to talk about Christmas?
No.
Would you like to come and talk to me about Christmas?
It's oh yeah,
No,
Christmas.
of course. You don't like Christmas?
Have a great one.
Christmas?
Okay.
No,
Oh,
Christmas,
hey, man.
no. Would you like to talk about Christmas with me?
I think I'm good for now, man. I'm
Yeah.
just quite busy, but I appreciate you asking.
Hello there. Would any one of you like to be interviewed about Christmas for a minute or two?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fuck, yes!
Yeah, yeah.
Finally!
What is this? Sorry, what do you want me to? What is this for? Oh, that's
So,
really cool.
Tell me about how you usually spend Christmas.
Yeah? Spend it with a family.
Yeah?
We spend it as a family.
Mm.
Just a magical time to spend with family, I guess.
It's all about being with loved ones for me, but I
Mm.
think that probably doesn't help you very much.
I can go home for Christmas because the overlords of money have decided that I can't spend the entirety of Christmas with my family, but you know.
We have church first thing, and then we have a lovely meal together, and then in the afternoons we open our presents. So
It's really hard to kind of pinpoint what it is that makes it really good. One year it was drinking too many Cosmopolitans and singing power ballads with my sisters.
Also friends, if you can, like if you've got anyone, just people are quite generous around Christmas, so just like don't be afraid to ask people if they want to do things, or like it's quite easy to make friends around the Christmas time because everyone wants to be in the Christmas spirit.
There isn't a lot to do here.
Would you like to spend it with me?
I'd love to spend it with you.
Great.
For us, because we're Christian, the church and the Christmas meaning Christian meaning of Christmas is super important, as well as the celebration and having a good time.
Go out, see lights, Christmas lights, that definitely gets you in the Christmas spirit. Have some mulled wine, and yeah, wait for Father Christmas to deliver your presents, and then that's that.
That's that. Lights, wine, Jesus, and family. The four most important parts of any Christmas, and which I had only one of. And with the knowledge I'd gathered from the locals, I found myself exactly where I'd started. Alone, with wine, but without a plan. Luckily for me, but not so much for my friends. My roommates couldn't travel home for Christmas either this year, because of all these different tiers and lockdowns around the country. I now had 3 British people in my possession to help me navigate through this Christmas. With Autumn, Matt and Shaq's work in the kitchen, they filled the table with all kinds of British-looking food within minutes.
She just gets that one.
And with the Christmas food down our bellies, it was time to open the presents.
Cheers. Even though I know Izzy got it for me. This is Axe, right? This is Axe.
I'm looking for the missing.
Hey! Hey!
Street light.
Links Brothers, yeah! Hey!
And my flat is the only place to go.
While the house Santa was giving out the last of the presents, I felt myself a little bit out of focus. While I was sitting here, in my Christmas success, surrounded by friends and presents, my mind couldn't help to think of the one I knew wasn't.
And Santa's in quarantine. They got locked down in Argentina.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, bro.
Merry Christmas makes for such a time. Stuck here for Christmas Eve, and they say, well, that coronavirus sure messed it all up.
Don't spill the beer! The only problem with that word is they get lost so easily.
They said, don't forget the lutefisk. I said for sure, and the figgy pudding.
With the dead Nintendo Switch and Nerf darts in every corner of the room, we decided to call it a night. Cuddle up on the couch and listen to Boris Johnson's one-of-a-kind Christmas speech to the United Kingdom.
Express my personal gratitude to the wonderful members of our armed forces currently on deployment, and therefore to their friends, family and children back home who will have an empty chair at the table when they tuck into their Christmas dinner. Today of all days, I want us to remember those Christians around the world who are facing persecution. For them, Christmas Day will be marked in private, in secret, perhaps even in a prison cell. As Prime Minister, that's something I want to change.
What the fuck was that?
I think about my family back in their island in the sea. And I know they send their love and they're waiting there for me.
Coronavirus.
Das Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus. Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Wuhan, the city of a new future. This is Wuhan before and after the virus outbreak. It is very odd how something like a virus can break us down, separate us, turn us against each other, make us feel afraid of each other. This is the first time I've seen humanity being crushed. We humans contribute to the world's economy, and yet our chosen leaders still don't realize that our lives matter.
没有人关心我们平民老百姓的性命，有钱也买不到药，有钱也买不到病房。
Many sources claim that the start of this pandemic can be traced back to November 2019, and the infected at that time were not reported. There is still no record of the patient zero or how it got worse. After all this escalated, the authorities and medical staff reported the disease on the 31st of December.
During January, President Xi Jinping was well aware of how deadly the situation was. Yet he made a decision that would ultimately condemn the world. He allowed 5 million people to leave the epicenter of the virus, to leave Wuhan without being screened for COVID-19, before he decided to impose a lockdown. Dr. Ai Fen also went public, saying authorities had stopped her and her colleagues from warning the world. She has now disappeared, whereabouts unknown.
In a matter of days, Dr. Li Wenliang went from treating patients to becoming one. It was back in late December when Li first warned friends on WeChat about a SARS-like disease going around. Li sent a group message saying that a test result from a patient quarantined at the hospital where he worked showed a patient had a coronavirus. But hours after hitting send, Wuhan city health officials tracked Li down, questioning where he got the information. But instead of being praised, Li got a call from Wuhan city police. He agreed to sign this document, admitting to spreading rumors online and severely disrupting social order. It reads, "We want you to cooperate with the police and listen to our reminder and stop the illegal act. Can you do that?" Li answered, "Yes, I can."
My purpose is to make sure that all of this information is not lost or deleted.
因为我们是不知道官方什么时候会把什么帖子删掉的，所以我们都是在跟官方比速度。
我们要保存我们的个体的记忆也好，或者是一种集体的记忆也好。
All the information that is censored, and for what? Is this more important than the citizens' lives? The people who chose their presidents and ministers to be the protectors of their rights? A person hides something only if he is guilty of it. Like Chernobyl, radiation levels that, according to Soviet laws, were supposed to trigger an automatic public warning about the dangers of radiation exposure, had already been recorded in the early hours of April 26th, but were ignored by one official after another. On top of that, in the end, we understand that this could have been avoided because all the lives that were taken were on the hands of the people that kept the valuable information covered up. Government based on secrets and lies that led to many deaths.
What is the cost of lies? It's not that we'll mistake them for the truth. The real danger is that if we hear enough lies, then we no longer recognize the truth at all.
We seal off the city. No one leaves. And cut the phone lines. Contain the spread of misinformation. That is how we keep the people from undermining the fruits of their own labor.
Doesn't this look similar? And can we blame the authorities for these outbreaks? No. Any possibility of a disaster is unfathomable. However, how they decide to handle it concerns everyone, no matter the type of government. The leaders of their countries have vowed to protect their citizens. Unfortunately, we cannot see it from the breadcrumbs they have given us. There is a lack of information on the case of COVID-19, like it was with Chernobyl. And it is frustrating to see how mistakes get repeated.
Nombre completo: Isidro Antonio Seco Fuertes.
Rosario del Pilar Muñoz Rodríguez.
Pilar González Alonso.
Daniela Moris Medina. Dakota de las Nieves Molina Delgado.
Ancor González Hernández.
Nacido el 2 del 4 del 38.
28 de septiembre de 1940.
25 del 10 del 43.
El 4 del 10 de 2000. El 22 de diciembre de 1994.
El 11 de junio del 93, así que tengo 27 años.
Tengo 27 años y tengo 20 años.
77 años.
Tengo 80 años.
82 a punto de los 83.
Lo primero, bailar.
Pues la salud.
Uy, no se puede decir.
Pizza. Luz.
Televisión, más que nada porque hay una detrás de ti.
Lo que me gusta ser. Mi vida ha sido lo que me ha gustado ser. Y disfruto pues sí, volando y haciendo otras cosas que me parecen.
Pues disfruto haciendo, por ejemplo, punto, o sea, punto de cruz, disfruto haciendo también encaje.
Me gusta pintar y disfruto cuando la gente presta atención a lo que hago.
No trabajar, no estar en el trabajo, descansar en mi casa, en mi cama.
Programar. Sí, jugando a videojuegos. Programar y videojuegos. Dibujar. Caminar, ir a la playa. Caminar a la playa prácticamente. Y estar con mis amigos.
Pues sé muchas cosas. Hay muchas cosas que no sé hacer.
Yo pienso que poder hacer se puede hacer todo. Si tú quieres hacerlo, tienes fe y voluntad para hacerlo.
Cualquier cosa de la casa. Ni planchar, ni limpiar, ni fregar, nada. Hago todo, pero no me gusta hacer nada.
Me cuesta mucho estudiar. Una cosa bastante curiosa después de haber terminado una carrera y haberme metido en otra.
Programar y hacer ejercicio. Ahora mismo estar con el ordenador codeando porque me dan ganas de tirarlo por la ventana. Bueno. Algo que me gustaría probar. Paracaidismo.
Uno de estos Ferrero Rocher.
Adelante.
Bueno, un montón de cosas.
¿Cómo qué?
El túnel del viento que han puesto ahora en Gran Canaria. El de...
Si no lo he probado ha sido porque a lo mejor no ha coincidido, pero vamos, tampoco tengo verdadero interés en ser un as de nada.
Me gustaría aprender a hacer ramos de flores.
Viajar a Persia y oler Persia, oler los mercados y ver los colores que tiene. Eso es lo que sé.
No empecéis a comer en mitad de una entrevista.
Pónganse la mascarilla, por favor. Saber lo que quieres en general, saber lo que no quieres, alejarte de lo que no quieras y lo que no te haga feliz.
Sí. Que haga lo que quiera, que se divierta. Y que viva joven, aunque sea mayor.
Simplemente que si tienen una ilusión, pues que la lleven a cabo.
¿Algún consejo? Sí, dicen que del viejo el consejo, pero la verdad es que a mí no me gusta dar muchos consejos.
他们一律活路嘛，家里头吃，一天挣个几块钱10来块钱，
坐着等嘛，用的嘛开不了张的，等他来讨论嘛，等得还找不了。
发现我们那个岁数的人，哪个要？
我把那个背起来，
这个就现实的。
有点闹。
高斌，
喂，要得，还是先点呀，过了的。要得，好。
钱的话，就是我上回跟你说好的，就是我读那个职业技术学院那个钱，你上回都得了，你把那个钱给我，最后他们报名都要结束了，你把钱给我，我去把名报了噻。他都报名结束了，你不然又要等明年子，这个机会就不能这样轻易的把它错过了噻。
那着急了，明年只要钱多挣现在。
那买点啥子东西啊，或者搞点啥子，你来不来就是没得钱，你总要想点办法噻。
因为我现在好大岁数了，60多了，我起那么早为了啥子啊？
为了啥子？那你起来那么早，你的成果在哪里嘛？你要把钱给我噻，我把名报了。你要说话噻。
Dungeons & Dragons is a game that has been around since 1974, but it found its prominence in the 80s and now has reached its highest peak yet. This is all due to such shows as Freaks and Geeks, The IT Crowd, Gravity Falls, Community, and countless more. Most famously, its presence in Stranger Things has allowed it to reach the mainstream and has changed its perception from a game played by basement dwellers and is now seen as a game that everyone plays, from Vin Diesel to Joe Manganiello, the writers of Game of Thrones, and most famously, a group of incredibly famous voice actors who have created a show called Critical Role, which has lasted over 7 years. It's garnered an audience of very loyal fans who even managed to donate hundreds of thousands for it on Kickstarter to get an animated show based around the exploits of their adventures. But the key selling point isn't just watching celebrities play out adventures and hearing about other people's stories. It's about being able to spend hours with your friends, getting lost in strange worlds, fighting dragons or gods, running crime empires, or even entering drinking contests and bar brawls. It's about meeting new characters along the way and making friends and enemies. All of this is possible through teamwork and collective problem solving. Usually the game is played in person, allowing for a much more personal atmosphere, where you can celebrate after a hard fight or mourn after a player's death. However, last year COVID-19 hit, causing lockdowns all across the globe, creating havoc for people as they were told to stay inside and not be able to see anyone. This struck hard anyone who was either just starting up a campaign or who had been part of one for years. It meant people had to restructure their games or put a halt to them. I know for me it caused chaos, as I had just started a new campaign with my friends. We got one game in and then lockdown hit, causing us to stop. As everyone knows, lockdown was and still is hard for everyone. Constant awful news happening on social media, TV, the world falling to bits, and being trapped inside forced everyone to dwell on it. But after talking, we decided we need a break from the constant doom and dread and decided to restart our game. It allowed us to have a sense of escapism for a few hours each week, but it wasn't just us doing this. Games across the world decided that this is what is needed to escape. Players from around the world met and became friends. People who had never met became close. Even in my game, I became best friends with 2 people that I hadn't met before. This is the power and the biggest part of the game. As cliche as it sounds, it is the friends you make along the way. Playing together allowed us to stay sane and keep our minds focused on something. Here are some of the stories from my party about how D&D helped them through lockdown.
So how has playing like D&D and obviously playing Live Direct helped you like throughout lockdown? And
It's just fun because your character doesn't have to worry about what's going on, like coronavirus, because it doesn't exist in. Well, hopefully it doesn't exist, Sam, in your world.
No.
So it's like an escape.
D&D characters are like very empowered. You know, they're people who are often faced with difficult problems, but they have the tools to solve them. And also they can go fucking hit an animal. just beat the shit out of some monster. But that's empowering, right? Yeah. You know, I can't just go out and beat the shit out of COVID. I just kind of have to live with it. But the problems that our D&D characters face, the solvable problems, and more often than not, we emerge victorious. And I think that's good for our morale.
Would you say that D&D has helped you throughout lockdown?
For sure, because like it gives me something to look forward to every week. Otherwise, I'm just at home or working. So it just gives it, like, you know, because we can't really go out and socialise because obviously lockdown. So like D&D is a way of socialising, even if it is just over Discord. Like you still keep in contact with your friends and everything.
What do you think about it, like, actually can bring people together and brought all of us together?
I was really nervous about role-playing when I first started, because obviously I didn't really know you. I didn't know David. Like, I'd never done this before. But when I got into it and it builds confidence, because when I built up the confidence and stuff, I was able to then chat to you and David and everyone else about different stuff when we're like on a break. Like, I wouldn't just sit there awkwardly in silence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in a weird way, it just forces you to talk to people, which eventually builds confidence with talking in front of people. and stuff like that, especially if you're like a really nervous, shy person, because I used to be like that. Like when I joined the D&D, I was like that, like really anxious and just constantly nervous and scared that I would say or do something as a character that will annoy everyone else in the party. So yeah, it's definitely changed my brain.
Yeah. I try to keep up with people over Discord and stuff. But D&D is great because it's a guaranteed thing every week where I'm going to be hanging out with some of my friends, talking and, you know, enjoying something together. And that's just, you know, we do it on Friday, so it's the end of the week. You come home and you get to play some D&D, and it's really like, it really helps me through each week. Surges, especially right now, it's so good, like, to just be able to stop thinking about the worries of the real world for a few hours and just inhabit this fucked up guy.
Hi, my name's Jamie Smith, and I'm 25. I work as a radio frequency physicist for a defence company. My experience working from home has been quite positive, actually. Majority of it has been in a shared house, so I've had other people around me, which has its challenges, but in terms of the social aspect, it's been good. So working from home is also really good in terms of your ability to be in a comfortable environment, your own home, your own food, your own beds, your own sofa, whatever it is. There can be distractions, but if you work it well, it can be really good. As well as the freedom to pop out whenever you want or need, go for walks, go to the shop, do this, that or the other in your own home environment, it's much better. As well as not having to actually physically get up extra early, put on your clothes to go to work, maybe a suit for some. Things I didn't enjoy about working from home were extra distractions, particularly in quite a confined area. There may be more noise and more people moving in and out, and that's good in some ways, but it does distract you. So you've just got to practice tuning that out and concentrating. Other things are, in my particular situation, the seating, and there's no office space I have that's comfortable. So sometimes I got a bit of back pain if I'm sitting in an awkward position on a sofa too long, for instance. So
it's true, like when you work from home, you put more effort, you work long hours, is this true?
In my experience, no. I've been quite successful at switching off and knowing I'm putting my work away, switching off my work laptop, for instance, and then that's it. There's a clear divide. But I can imagine that because you may be working in the same place you're spending leisure time, there is that blurred line for some people. But in my case, I've been quite successful at. What I like about working in an office is, as I said earlier, there's naturally better interactions with your team members and other colleagues if you're face to face, and you can communicate quicker. It's the speed and bouncing back and forth of the communication and ideas that's important, I think. That can be replicated with technology, but it takes more practice. I think it will take many years before that becomes normal. What I don't like about working in an office is for me, it can be very monotonous. I don't enjoy sitting at a desk all the time. That's why I strive to move around, even on site where I work. Go to different places, go and see people, go for walks regularly. That's really important for your health as well as your concentration. I also don't like the tendency of some managers to kind of use the opportunity to micro manage your time. in terms of arriving and leaving work from the office, sometimes practicalities motivate you to arrive later or leave earlier. Even if the work's still being done, some people look bad upon those kinds of actions. In terms of the future of work, I have thought about this, and I personally would like a hybrid approach where I spend 2 or 3 days working at the office and 2 or 3 days working at home, kind of mix and match depending on my life. That's the future, I think, more broadly that will happen, where work culture will be more focused around increasing the well-being of people's lives outside of work and not so much about people's work themselves. I have a job where I'm required for certain parts of it to be on a particular site, and I know some people have to work on site, but certainly if I had a choice in any case, it would still be a hybrid. I wouldn't choose to work from home all the time.
Hello, my name is Sian Berry and I'm one of the founders and co-creators and directors here at the Circus House in Manchester. So I originally wanted to be part of the community, the circus community, because I found it to be a wonderful way to express my artistic visions through physicality. You don't have to be a certain height, weight, you don't have to be able-bodied, you don't have to be, you can be neurodiverse and you can still access it as an art form and as a fitness tool. I think I found dance particularly difficult as a younger person because of my dyslexia, my disability, my inability to be able to count accurately, I guess, whereas I found circus to be much more welcoming of different people and different abilities, and it really was a place where I felt I could grow. So some of my best experiences are watching the young people that we teach grow, develop, and essentially go off and start their own journeys. We've had 3 young people now turn 18 and go off to study specifically circus at higher education and universities. We've also had a young man who has become a dancer, and we also have a young woman who has basically gone from being a youth student to being a member of staff with us.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm a trapeze artist and acrobalance flyer at Circus House. I've been involved in Circus House for about 7 years. I started when I was 11, when I went to a juggling club at a church hall around the corner from my house. I think training, it's quite social for me. Circus encourages you to be an individual. So like, have a mohawk, have pink hair, do what you want, wear your own clothes and listen to your own kind of music, and it's brilliant. You can always find new things, and it's brilliant. I love it. You get a massive rush from it, and when you like nail the end product, it's amazing. It's brilliant.
We've also got the next generation of them young people coming through, and it's great to see how these shy little people develop into strong performers and strong communicators and strong, wonderful humans. It's really lovely to see that. And also it's really nice to watch some of our older members, in their late 60s, working with some of the absolute tiny tots and just watching them relationships and how they can support each other. I remember once we were doing a show and one of our tutors, Pete, was having a little chat to someone else when the director was talking, which is a bit naughty, but it's okay. And a little tiny girl, 7, I think she was at the time, she just tapped him on the shoulder and told him to be quiet. It was very cute. I think the impacts that we make as a community vary. Obviously, I think we're a great support network to a lot of people. We provide people with an opportunity to express themselves, to perform without having to be professional performers. We can get involved in Manchester Day, so we get involved in celebrating our city and helping people to see the wonderfulness that circus is. A couple of years ago I started a project called the Women's Wellbeing Circus, with the idea that we could use circus skills as a way to aid recovery from just if you've had some poor mental health or just having a bad time. At the moment we've had to come to a little bit of a standstill because of COVID, but I really hope that in 2021 we can restart the project and push forward. Circus is for literally anybody.
我叫朱小杨，我平常都在河口小学读书。
这个同学他学习成绩很好，很聪明，上课乐习老师还没讲到的东西，可能他已经看到后面了。那对于朱小然同学呢，这个学生呢，他家庭情况呢非常的贫困，妈妈呢也是离家出走，没有来管理他了的。然后呢，爷爷也不在了，现在家里面呢，他家里面的亲人呢就只有奶奶和他的爸爸，然后爸爸呢是常年在外打工挣钱，然后家里面就奶奶一个人呢带着他。
哎，
啊，没见过，谁在这里呢？
你就用这个拐杖啊？
哦，就是用这拐杖出去走啊。
哦。
时间起来了，让我打开呀。把那烧水我喝。那意思，俺就一岁，俺妈就走了，离开7年了，俺8岁了，离开7年。
那他是不是有时候会特别想他妈妈？
就是这样子嘛，俺家妈发视频嘞，小张想得跟着一转这个原先有视频嘛，发个视频嘞啊，问到嘛他家买这些玩具，这些玩具他家买些的嘛，买些呢又开始一个人打个电话给俺家妈，我家妈笑不，俺家妈说我咋不想你，我想你我再给你买玩具嘞，说，我说他讲。我闹了，我脚也不好，我说我带不起呢。我说你爸爸也带不完，你找个钱供养你做什么？我说俺讲你往你妈看，找到钱供养你不说我不奶奶，俺说你带我的苦，我要给着你，俺说。哎呀，是有这个嘛说，奶奶，我说拿的我都不去，你带我的苦，我要给着你，俺说。就他娘这个姑娘啊，阿姨，他是，超级灵敏这个人。
他还把他奶奶的拐杖一直画在上面了。对。
那不大。俺买几个娃娃，给他骑1件车去了。好的。说可以吃。严谨坚持啊。
奶奶，我们走啦。
有的，拜拜。
走吧，有时间我们来耍。
白头发。
白头发，哪里有个白头发？
有白头发。
白头发。
808。
属儿童关爱的这个办公室也有。然后这个办公室呢，主要就是说，现在我们学校里面大部分的孩子嘛，基本上都属于这种，留守儿童的这种情况。基本上一年的话，也就是过年的时候来陪着孩子，把春节过完，然后他们又出去打工挣钱，他们就自己，起床啊、洗脸呀、刷牙，然后就背上书包从家里面就往学校。然后到初中、高中了以后，很多的农村孩子的爆发力呢很好。他到高中、初中以后，到镇里面去上的时候呢，他可能在考试的时候他的分数呢很一般，但是去上了一个学期一年的时候，他就会跑到班级的前面，他那个爆发力呢很强。有接受过一些捐赠，你比如说衣服啊、鞋子之类的也有。去年的话就有福建的一个爱心这个团体，他们就为学校这个每个孩子呢捐赠了2套衣服，这是非常好的。
这个学校为什么我到这里来了？因为我在河滨小学的时候，由于这个福哥给我们学校里面带来很多优点，在学校里我已经有34年的这个负责人了，所以呢，由于我们学校是属于市坎小区当中的一分支校，所以逼迫把它归还这个市坎小学。而我呢，我就说，我是在高山偏僻山村的地方，学生少的地方去，所以我又到河口。高山的教学与坝区的教学，我认为坝区的教学还是如高山要，还是贫穷落后的。在我的学校里，几乎都是贫困的学生，所以我们这个宾语的这个堂子，我认为太小了。他们有能力的，还有父母对这个孩子的管理和对文化的重用方面，他们都调到外面去了。那我到这里来以后，谢老师还有福哥跟你们粉丝给我们捐的这个13个包裹花，都在我河边领取了以后，统统带到这里来了。在谢老师和带动之下，我们把学校这个绿化还有强化，这些都是我们在里面这个努力的完成的接手了这个学校里面呢，因为我30多年的负责人了，我老了要交给年轻去做，我在下面承养，我的意思就说完了。
同学们，你们有什么梦想啊？有什么梦想啊？
我想当一名医生，我想当一名消防员，我想当一名科学家，我长大以后要当一名飞行员，因为我要开飞机飞上蓝天。长大以后想要当一名医生，因为我要帮大家治病，想让人们快点好起来。长大以后想要当一名大家看出能力的童话。想要当一名科学家，为国家出一份力量。我长大 以后想当一名医生，因为我想救死扶伤，帮助更多的人，让他们过上幸福的生活。
我长大了，想要当一名乡村的教师，因为我想帮助更多大山里的孩子，让他们能够走出大山去城里。我会通过自己的努力实现愿望。
那你们都有自己的梦想，你平时是不是应该多努力读书嘞？是。平时回在家多把书拿出来看看，多读一点书，多努力学习，努力去实现自己的梦想，好不好？ 能够留住山里面更多的孩子在这儿学习呢，这是我们这个最大的一个愿望。
1980s marked a very important time, where it was the time of experimentation in the pop scene. As a result of this, it created American song movement, city pop, which helped create iconic artists such as Ani, Maria Takeuchi, and what most would now consider the founding fathers of the genre, Tatsuo Yamashita. But it wasn't until the rising synth-pop group Yellow Music Orchestra that really helped bring the ideas of the hip-hop style to the ears of Japan. On March 21st, 1981, the track Rap Phenomena was released and has now gone to be credited as the earliest instance of hip-hop in Japan. Apart from that, hip-hop hadn't really gained any traction, but that all changed with the release of Wild Style, along with similar movies like Beat Street and Flashdance. Wild Style was a 1982 American hip-hop film starring Lady Pink and legendary DJ Grandmaster Flash. Due to its massive success in America, they were able to have many tours around Japan, which in turn introduced Japanese audiences to authentic American hip-hop. This era of Japan created many pioneers of the Japanese hip-hop scene, including Crazy A, who started his breakdancing days in the streets of Yoyogi Park, a well-known destination for street performers, and Hideaki Ishii, also known as DJ Crush. DJ Crush has mentioned his inspiration for turntabling due to Wild Style. Ishii not only maintained the relevance of the hip-hop scene, but also created the groundwork for the distinctive Japanese hip-hop style around that time. While breakdancing and DJing were on the increase, rap didn't receive the same level of notoriety due to apprehensiveness from the music labels, not knowing how well hip-hop would be perceived by the wider Japanese audience, and also to how hard it was to emulate the distinctive American flow with the Japanese language. This, however, all changed in the early 90s with the release of Shah the Rapper's debut song Konya Wa Boogie Back and East End's X-Yuri's Dayone. These songs were well received and contributed to the increased popularity of hip-hop. However, because of their success, it created a sort of rift between the underground rappers and the so-called party rappers, in a debate about authenticness in the hip-hop community, due to how mundane the lyrics were compared to the often harsh and tragic ones overseas. During the 2000s, Japanese hip-hop artists started to branch out and grow even more in popularity, with artists such as Teriyaki Boys collaborating with Kanye West. It would seem as though Japanese hip-hop was truly finding its own unique style. One of the main contributors to this was Nujabes, real name Jun Seiba. Nujabes is well known for his contributions to the 2005's iconic anime Samurai Champloo, and his earliest collaboration Shink O2 and Funky DL. Seiba's laid-back jazzy style was extremely influential at the time, and even seeps through to modern artists like Evie's Beat and Eki. While hip-hop in Japan is still considered a niche, the subgenre has never been so diverse. The new generation of Japanese hip-hop artists have now begun to emulate the style of modern American hip-hop and trap. Japanese hip-hop scene is continuously diversifying, expanding, and globalizing with every year.
《这是小欧，本影片的主角，他是景德镇陶瓷大学即将毕业的大学生。最近他很迷茫。景德镇又名子都，自古以来这个小城市以生产陶瓷而闻名。在这里出产的工艺陶瓷用品占全世界总量的35%。截止到2019年。景德镇从事陶瓷工作人数大概有15万人，而小欧即将是他们中的一员。
我最大的难题可能就是，我觉得我很难在这个整个陶瓷制作市场中找到一份属于自己合适的工作吧，因为我觉得这个市场它太过于两极分化了。
小欧口中的这两个极端，分别是工业瓷和艺术瓷。工业瓷大多很廉价，被人们随意放在街边售卖，而艺术瓷则被摆在高级的展厅中，价格高昂且跨度极大。工业瓷都是通过使用机械设备大规模流水线生产出来的。这条完整流水线的步骤分别是积压、修坯、补水、速烧、上釉、贴花、烧窑。几乎每一个步骤都会借助机器来完成，比如对瓷器的绘制，是工人将机器生产出的花纸贴在素瓷上，经过高温烧制，贴纸就会和瓷器融为一体。从事制作工业瓷的工人们，他们的工作内容十分枯燥，就是在固定岗位上不断重复这条流水线中的某一个步骤，一天能重复上千次。他们的工作无疑是辛苦劳累的，但他们的报酬却往往很低。艺术瓷则是通过传统的手工制瓷手段去进行生产。 产量会远低于工业瓷。从事制作艺术瓷的工人们，他们具备良好的审美和技艺，他们会亲手去制作瓷器，不论是塑造胚胎还是绘制瓷器，他们的报酬往往会比制作工业瓷的工人们要高得多。在艺术瓷制作市场中，还有很多陶瓷艺术家，他们会把陶瓷当成画布，在上面进行绘画，创作出独一无二的艺术品。这些成品最后一般会在艺术画廊里进行展览和售卖。
我以前有打听过，一个制作工业瓷的工人去制作一件瓷器的话，可能也就只能挣2-3毛钱。但如果你是一个制作艺术瓷的工人的话，你做一件瓷器少说也能赚几百块吧。那如果你是个艺术家的话，那你已经没有办法估计了，一件作品几万、几十万，这都很常见的。所以说，我觉得这个行业的跨度是非常非常大的，但是适合我的岗位却不多。因为我觉得对于一个所谓受过高等教育的大学生而言，去制作这些工业瓷的话，我会觉得很小题大做，而且这么低的工资完全不能满足我。但如果去制作艺术瓷的话，我觉得我的能力和经验又没有达到足够的水平，所以我可能还是要去多寻找一些这个行业的这个中间地带，去解决我现在所谓这种高不成低不就的困境吧。
5、4、3、2、1。大家好，大家好，大家好，我是刘老师，我是教科学课的。当然呢，我也会带孩子们的航空航天模型。我在学校里面1个星期有10节课，其中8节是科学课，还有2节是空模的选修课。转，船的时候注意俯仰，对自己啊。那么它主要比的就是留空的时间。从出手的那一刻开始，一直到空中盘着气流，就可以多滑翔一下。没有盘着气流，最终的结果就是马上就掉下来，就像刚才的这几位同学。其实怎么说呢？我小时候啊，因为当时时代的限制，所以我还有家庭条件的限制，所以我小时候可能没有机会接触很多航空航天模型，特别是遥控类的航空航天模型。所以等到我上班了之后，我很想把我的这种兴趣爱好也带给孩子们，让孩子们感受到祖国航空航天模型、航空航天科技的发展。请注意，飞机我们在正式比赛的时候，你出圈了，你必须跑回去把那个飞机捡回来，回到原来的场地才能继续比赛。那么对于孩子来说，他开展航空航天类模型有什么益处？我们现在中国目前的状态就是科技创新的人才比较匮乏，那么从小带着他们去动手动脑实践，我相信 经过很长时间的这样一种引领推动，孩子们可能在科技创新方面会树立自己的一个理想，这是第一。第二个，我深刻地感受到现在孩子们的动手能力实在是太差了。很多孩子在遇到困难的时候，喜欢做这样一件事，求助于老师，而没有自己的主观的主动去克服困难的这种精神。多啦，多啦！
完了，大事不妙！
大事不妙啊！你还真的这上面去了？
完了！
我忽然想起来一句话，什么叫动手能力为复数？那么，遇到困难的时候，遇到比较难解决的问题的时候，我希望孩子们通过自己动脑来解决，然后通过自己动手来实现。这是我开展航空航天模型一个最初的想法。
我觉得刘老师是一个既幽默又严厉的老师。
幽默的一个老师。
我们空服队的刘老师是一个很幽默，而且同时还带有严谨的老师，
很像一个小孩一样。
那如果让你把刘老师形容成一个动物的话，你会形容它是什么？
猴子。有一次呢，我们上课的时候飞进来了一只蜜蜂，然后呢，蜜蜂飞进来了之后，我们全班同学都盯着那只蜜蜂看，然后刘老师就说：“难道蜜蜂比我还帅吗？你们怎么都盯着它看？”然后我们就重新再看着刘老师继续听讲了，然后就是非常幽默，当时我们全班同学哄堂大笑。
不管是学生还是教育事业，还是我比较喜欢的空模这一块，都是我内心喜欢的。看到学生非常可爱的面庞，甚至他们调皮的那种各种举动，我觉得这作为一个老师都是可以包容的，因为我爱他。我原来跟你说过的啊，飞机上的每一道伤痕都是他曾经征战过蓝天的勋章，所以请记住，有勋章那才是我最骄傲的。
火锅对于我们就是北方人来讲，它也是一个很古老一个习俗的东西，所以呢，大伙儿呢也是一个团聚团圆，以这火锅的气氛能把家庭的氛围呢也都是大伙儿凝固在一起，有个热乎劲儿。
那你觉得火锅之中最重要的东西是什么？
最重要的东西也就是以着它为主题吧，晚上讲话的都是大伙儿互相沟通一个连锁一个链接，这也是它起到沟通的作用，也起到凝固的作用啊。原材料东西这也都是就是以着我们民族，以着我们这个国土这些东西，像什么牛羊肉、猪肉，也都以着这一套东西为主。另外一个就是说啥呢？它最有特色的一种东西，也就是我们东北有一种叫酸，
挺好吃，然后这个很简单的一种东西啊，就是而且它不同的这个地域的做法还不太一样。你像在东北呢，大家就习惯用这个一个大锅啊，然后烧开了，往里边下点粉条啊、白菜、猪肉啊。你要在北京呢，他就是习惯用这种铜的炭的火锅啊，中间杵着一个 大铁片儿啊，圈成圈儿，然后底下放上炭火。然后呢，你要是放到四川呢，哎，他们有9宫格的火锅，哎，这里边加点麻椒啊，加点大料啊，哎，那个辣劲儿，对吧？它不同的地方是这个火锅的味道和它的这个感觉也不一样，就是和家庭的联系，就是说一家人热热闹闹的把大家聚到一起，然后就围着一个锅开始这个吃，这个就是说大家借着它那个冒出来那个热乎气儿啊，然后大家也都更凝聚，更热闹。我们逢年过节呀，或者是有这个亲朋好友来的时候，大家都习惯啊煮点火锅。然后它的开始我听说是因为这个成吉思汗啊，这个当时打仗，然后士兵们很寒冷，在北方的时候，他们不知道这个，他们吃饭的时候就会觉得这个东西很没滋味儿，然后成吉思汗就这时候就说来你过来，让他那厨子拿了一口大锅，然后把那个山羊啊抓来，咔咔片成小片儿啊，把那个羊肉下到锅里边儿，哎，然后士兵一吃，哎，这个好吃啊，又热乎，这个肉的新鲜味儿还有啊，这个是火锅的起源吧？那它为什么能流传下来呢？我想，这个还是因为它好吃，而且它能把这个食物本来的这个新鲜味儿啊给做出来。再者呢，它还是有一个很热腾的、很热乎的这个氛围在。
Every hometown has its own culture, its own stories, and its tastes. Everyone has unique stories to tell of their hometown. However, everyone has the same memories of the traditional hot pot. My hometown is in the northeast of China. It is recognized for its distinct cuisine sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is mainly found in northeast China. The original intention of making sauerkraut is to extend the shelf life of vegetables. Sauerkraut is manufactured in multiple processes, removing the dead leaves on the outside, washing it, soaking it in boiled water, putting it in a jar to ferment, and eating it after a week. Although there are multiple steps in carefully preparing sauerkraut, what truly matters about the hot pot is the memories you create with friends and family. For me, a hot pot evokes a feeling of warmth and comfort. The delicious smells and bubbling food creates an amiable atmosphere, in which all those invited feel comfortable enough to speak their hearts. Living in a bustle period makes it hard to reunite all the families. It's what makes the hot pot so special. It is one of the rare times all the family come together. In the end, the fire is extinguished, the smiles subside, and bubbles fizzle away, but the friendship lives long after. I hope people far away can remember the joy of their home when they next see the hot pot.
金灯寺矗立于山西省平顺县东南山路，始凿于北齐天宝年间，明顺治万历年间进行扩建。寺顶巨崖当空，四下万丈深渊，在这个与世隔绝之地，却有这么一位老人，在8000多个日日夜夜之中，默默地守护这里。这位老人名叫冯开平。
虽然即将退休，但他的工作更加认真。他用满腔热忱和一生守护，换来国之瑰宝、华夏文明的代代相传。
自冯开平上山之后，这里从石窟木屋变成香火不断，从窄道石径变成畅通无阻。人似有情，时光无情。到了退休的年龄，冯开平也不得不离开他这个守护多年的地方。
退休了，走。退休了。这时候我过来边走啊。刚才下楼过来啊，下楼出来。好，行。喂。 聚会？哦，知道了，找我收拾东西啊，一会儿就上去了啊，好。
你要走的呀？都要去的，就到退休了，搞出也有瘾了，你这还非要上来，在家这就不能在家多聚2天。这会儿到了退休时候了，还要上个。这个年龄也大了，这是搞出也这会有了瘾了，这还要去。
人在林中走，鸟在林中叫，野兔林中跑，我在林中笑。
20年间，这里从一片贫瘠到草木葱茏，从岩石遍地到绿树错落，全靠一位名叫刘科奇的老人。一把锄头，几个油壶，在这里验证了一位老人与荒山的坚毅。一次次弯腰抬头，一次次上山下地，在这里演绎了一场生命与自然的斗争。
完了，快跟你往下走了。
如今已经90多岁高龄的刘科奇依然坚持每天上山。他的老伴儿每隔一段时间都打个电话问一下什么时候下山。刘科奇说，在刚开始栽树的时候，自己的老伴儿和老百姓都持反对的态度。
老百姓说：“老刘你真傻呀！你1月领俺几千块钱，你在家想清福不好，你偏偏上花上钱买上树受上罪，你受罪了。你是做了傻事。”我说了，我不是做了傻事，我是做了好事。但我不听这个闲言杂语，我继续在山上刨坑栽树。
我是95年，我这个老师文化局局长吧，找我来这个临汾市看望文物来了。来到这个地方，他这个前不知村后不知店。我可以在这个一天就是下午10点半，冬天10点半才一趟车，到那个地方就黑洞洞了，天就已经就6点半7点来钟了，到了那个地方。这是工作，你再苦你也得到那里干手看护你才能传承下去了。在我过去上来这个时候，这个路就没那这么宽，才1.5米，他这为啥嘞？还有些地上还不到2米宽嘞。你说那个要2步去来了，它这个都是石头。就是一个就是身不好了，它就会是嘞，手机信号不是那个很强壮嘞，信号不好，再来是到底下是信号是那河南信号，咱们上头路到10月就收不住这个陕西信号。
荒山，枝易行难，栽活一棵小树比养活一个娃娃都难。这是人们对平顺种树难、成活更难的生动描述。石厚土薄，干石裸露，石岭山又何尝不是？
栽树开始吧，没能注意到这个栽树的质量问题栽树有2、3个问题必须解决。 第一，刨坑要刨好，没有土，要想办法给它打土栽树。第二个问题呢，没有水，树木水不好成活，所以就栽树开始吧，从家里往上打水了啊。用油壶打水，这油壶打水呢，好处是就拔了桶也冲不了水以后，还能继续往上打。所以后边我就常年式的这个油壶。
在寺院里头工作，这就是，来了游客，来了香客，这就是看护香客嘞，安全嘞，游客来了，喝口水嘞，开点水，打扫卫生。这寺院里头这个工作，这就是打扫完卫生以后，剩下这时间喽，时间还长嘞，上山再去看菜，背回菜来，来这来他这个这来吃饭来呀，喝水来都得用菜，用大锅来烧来，所以这时间他这个过得也快。
在守护着文物的日子里，虽然条件艰苦，但好在日子始终平平淡淡。可在1997年，自从4个自称香客的男人来到了金灯寺后，平淡的日子就这样被打破。
在我在这个24年里头看护文物，在这个90几年的话，文物翻了多，文物翻一来这来挖掘过，他这个在这里寺院里头也抢过，他这个是也抢过，也搬过我，也很到了吃过我，给这窑里头也吃过我，也喝过蒙哈烟。他这个在吃饭时候，他都为什么？我们养吃饭，留俩香客，他也吃饭。他吃饭，他这个我们端碗来外头上工艺，是他到后地要饭，他就下到锅里蒙哈烟。从脚在茶具追，筷具推，他都筷具胳膊，他往嘴里使动那个布了，这就个拧木螺丝啊，烫。吹你底下烫上了，这个整个滋的往里拧来，他都，真收过呀，也是在这收来，拼上命在这来，扔了家保护怪物。
冯开平用24年的时间宣示了何为守护，8000多个日日夜夜，他在大山深处守护这片古寺，他与荒山野岭相伴，与危险困难作战，在生命受到威胁的情况下，他仍旧不忘职责和使命，守护着这片文化瑰宝。身衰力竭，但在心中仍然有一股子干劲。刘科奇就是这样的一个人，几十年的风吹日晒并没有磨掉他的信念，但是年迈多病的身体却难以支持他继续下去。正如他所说的，即使死后多年，这里仍会留下一片绿色，这就是他认为自己存在的价值。
干一天，只要我活着就守好这个山，这个叫金山银山，我死后留下这座山。我现在呢，年龄老了，干不了大事，就是守护着我的树，20年，走了20年这个路，经营树就成的。这样子身体以后，我有好多毛病，好多毛病。你要瞧我这个了，就快死啊！我死要埋到这个地方，好不好？ 一把一走啊！一把一走啊！
吃掉了，我吃了不能吃。
哎，
呀，干那么吃的？
我也必须吃不掉。
哦，有些一眼我去等呢。
老板也别，跟把这这。也没对着哦，怎么样好？怎么样？
10块钱6斤，10块钱6斤，3枚木鱼便宜卖，10块钱6斤，3枚木鱼便宜卖了，10块钱6斤，10块钱6斤，3枚木鱼便宜卖，10块钱6斤，3枚木鱼便宜卖，10块钱6斤，10块钱6斤，3枚木鱼便宜卖，10块钱6斤，3枚木鱼便宜卖，10块钱6斤，10块钱6斤，3枚。
打过去打2圈嘛打到那，打到一只面子嘛的，葛么伊来，葛么呢，啥项目葛么，go嘛，葛么了嘛。
6斤便宜卖了，10块钱6斤，10块钱6斤，当门1斤便宜。
Did you ever make a diet stew? There's a story behind it. For the rest of the meals, we try to stuff ourselves as efficiently as we could, and stew is a solution. It preserves and mingles the nutrition flavor of the material. It's tasty and filling, and most importantly, it's convenient to prepare and cook. We could cook it for once, for an hour, and got 3 or 4 meals out of it. My mom later taught me how to make it, so I could cook it in her stead.
Your big brown eyes stare back at mine. I have fun telling the words I wanna say to you. Your rosy cheeks and the way you smile is enough just to get me through. Flowers in your hair, lipstick stains on mine, like the way you make me care. Without you I'm a train wreck, your lips on mine, I'm the lucky one.
First of all, we need to marinate the meat. Cooking wine, soy sauce to give it some color, another type of soy sauce to give it some flavor, a little bit of sesame oil to bring out the flavor as well, some salt, a little bit of sugar, marinate it thoroughly, and we'll let it sit for about 15 minutes to 30 minutes. It takes a very long time for the potato to cook, so in order to reduce the overall cook time, we're gonna boil it here in a separate plate so that by the time everything else is ready, it's already pretty well done, and you just mix it with the stew instead of cooking it through. Gonna take about like 15 minutes to sit there and boil. So, I've been here in America for about 7 years. So I've tried all kinds of stuff here. American food, Italian, Indian, everything. Like, I like them a lot, but just this stew itself, it reminds me of something familiar, something special to me, that it just has no replacement. It's time to tend the stove. We call it diet stew to joke about how we are air quote voluntarily taking diet meals to get fit. Anyways, later we got more money to spare on food, so we started to improve on the recipe with more ingredients. This dish now becomes more of a memoriam and symbol of the past than anything else. Now allow me to present you the diet stew.
Amikor 12 éves voltam, kis hazámnak, Magyarországnak bölcsvezérei rájöttek, hogy a gondolkodás az egy olyan társadalmi csökevény, amire a jövő generációinak már egyáltalán semmi szüksége sincsen.
Jó napot kívánok, üdvözöllek benneteket, üdvözlöm Önöket! A mai délutánt az tanév szeptember 1-től induló erkölcstan tanításban eddig szerzett tapasztalatoknak szenteltük.
Első óra. Az erkölcs. 2013. szeptember 5-e. Erkölcs. Valakinek a magatartását irányító, annak megítélését segítő, társadalmilag helyesnek tekintett szabályok összessége, illetve ezek megvalósulása. 4 sarkalatos erény. Okosság, igazságosság, lelki erősség, mértékletesség. Arisztotelész, értelmi erény.
Az elején egyébként szimpatikusnak tűnt a tanár úr, de aztán pár óra múlva már kezdtem rájönni, hogy ez csak látszat, és ez nem az ember, ami ennek mutatja magát. Legelőször volt egy ilyen halas példája, hogy mentek a halak előre, és egy hal eltért a rajtól. És azt mondta, hogy aki eltért a rajtól, az nem jó. Az nem jó, az rossz, az csak hátráltatja a többi halat, és ez nem helyes.
A pályaválasztás. Folyamatos döntések sora, amellyel az ember fizikai és szellemi adottságait, tehetségét a lehető legteljesebb önmegvalósítás felé irányítja.
Az iskolánk az egy viszonylag rossz fekvésű épület volt, erősen besütött a nap, az osztálytermekben így rendkívül meleg volt odabent. Ezen a meleg napon szívesen elmentem volna focizni, a hobbimmal foglalkozni, társas életet élni esetleg. Helyette be kellett ülnünk az erkölcstan órára. Az óra témája az önmegvalósítás, a Maszlow piramis csúcsa, és amikor a tanár felszólít, hogy na igen, és akkor mi az önmegvalósítás, mondjuk el a saját szavainkkal, hozzákezdek, hogy az önmegvalósítás, hát az, mire a tanár letrompol, és azt mondja, hogy háttal nem kezdünk mondatot.
A férfi és a nő. 2014. március 13-a. Biológiai megközelítésben a nemi identitás alapvető különbségeket mutat férfi és nő között. Erkölcsi szempontból a férfi és nő között nem anatómiai különbség a vizsgálat tárgya, hanem a személyiségjegyekből fakadó erkölcsösség áll a középpontban. A férfi és a nő együtt alkotja az ember mi voltát. A férfi hivatása a racionalitás, a nő hivatása az érzelmi világnézet.
Nem feltétlenül megtanítottak valamit, hanem csak megmondták, hogy mindenki fehér, heteroszexuális, hogy egy férfinek kell dolgoznia, a nőknek pedig otthon maradni, főzni, mosni. Voltak ilyen kérdések, hogy hányszor kell kimosni a törölközőket egy héten, meg ilyesmi. És ezt csak a lányoktól kérdezték meg. Ahelyett, hogy inkább megtanítanák, hogy elfogadjuk egymást, mindenki más, ahelyett inkább azt mondták, hogy mindenki más, de nekünk mind ugyanolyannak kell lenni.
18. óra. A család. 2014. január 30-a. A család a társadalom legkisebb egysége. A szülők, a gyermekek legközelebbi hozzátartozó gazdasági, érzelmi, szellemi, kulturális közössége. A családot a házasság megkötése hozza létre. A család létcélja a biológiai utódnemzés mellett az elsődleges szocializáció, a nevelés és az önálló életre való felkészítés. Házi feladat, fogalmazást írni arról, hogy majd milyen családom lesz.
A jövőnkről volt szó. Sorba fel kellett olvasni, hogy hogyan képzeljük el a jövendőbeli párunkat. És elmondták a többiek, és szokás szerint belekötött. Például, hogy volt egy lány, aki azt írta, hogy legyen kedves, okos és vicces. És erre belekötött a tanár úr, hogy a becsület nem fontos, az alázatosság nem fontos. Neked ezek a legfontosabbak? Én utolsónak következtem. 13 éves voltam. Ez nyilván azóta elmúlt, de még akkor azt gondoltam, hogy nem akarok férjhez menni. És mondtam, hogy tanár úr, én nem szeretném felolvasni. Azt mondta, hogy vagy azért nem akarod felolvasni, mert hogy nem bízol meg bennünk, vagy azért, mert a vágyaid nem természetesek. És én nem értettem, hogy mit jelent az, hogy nem természetes a vágy. Azt gondoltam, hogy nyilván azt, amit én akkor gondoltam, hogy nem akarok férjhez menni, hogy biztos erre gondol a tanár úr is, és akkor mondtam, hogy mindkettő. És hát vége is lett az órának, elköszönt, kiment, egy osztálytársnőm odajött hozzám, hogy ez most komoly. Mondom, micsoda? És akkor elmagyarázta, hogy mire gondolt a tanár úr, hogy a nem természetes, az alatt arra gondolt, hogy a lányokat szeretem. És akkor jöttek be a többiek, és ott rögtek rajtam, hogy én akkor leszbikus vagyok.
Ami visszatérő motívum volt, mindenki megerősítette, hogy a gyerekek nemhogy élvezik, hanem imádják az erkölcstanórákat. Második, óriási igényük és szükségük van arra, hogy